I am good at English grammar, but I had some problem in my English for science and technology class. It's even confusing when to use passive voice and active voice.
I heard that you need to consider the context when you use a certain grammar points in scientific writing.
Right, I'm not sure when I use present tense and past tense in my paper. It's very confusing.
What shall we do?
We have learned English grammar for several years. Some of us may have learned English since elementary school. However, it is sometimes confusing how we use certain grammar rules in our scientific writing, such as tense, voice, or subject-verb agreement. If you first understand the characteristics of scientific writing, this confusion may disappear by itself. Welcome to English for Science and Technology. My name is Daehyun Nam, professor of Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology. Today, we will explore specific grammar rules, voice, person, and tense, and how they are used in scientific writing. English has two voices. If the subject of a sentence is a doer, then the sentence is an active voice. If the subject of a sentence is a recipient of an action, then the sentence is in passive voice. Take a look at these examples. These two sentences say the same meaning, but in the active sentence has 3 words and the passive sentence has 5 words. Passive sentences are always wordier than active voice. This is not the reason why the passive voice should be avoided in scientific writing. Now, we will take a look at several sets of voice-related examples. First, have a look at these examples. First 2 sentences describe the participants of a study who completed a questionnaire. In scientific writing, when we introduce participants of research, it is better to have focus on them, not the action they completed. Therefore, in these examples, it's better to avoid passive voice and use active voice. This is a passive voice sentence. The action receiver is the DNA. To emphasize the receiver of the action, you can use the passive voice, just like this example. And in this case, who performed the sequence is not important or ignorable. In this sentence here, passive voice is used when we don't know who did the action. The writer simply wants us to know the action. The process resolution was achieved. When we want to de-emphasize or even hide the agent of the action, we use passive voice. In the first example, which is in passive voice, the emphasis goes to the penicillin, the cure for bacterial infection. In the active voice example, Alexander Fleming moves to the front. This has the effect of de-emphasizing the cure for bacterial infection. If the writer is concerned with penicillin, the passive voice would be the better choice. If the writer's main concern is the person who discovered the cure, then the active voice is a better choice. In this simple sentence, passive voice is used because the sentence cannot be converted into active voice. There's no choice but using passive voice. Take a look at these sentences. If we wish to move emphasis from the object in the first sentence to what becomes the subject in the following sentence, the second sentence should be in passive voice. If the second sentence starts with, like, a subcommittee on student behavior in active voice, the idea of policy is not connected between the first and the second sentence. This is a matter of information flow, moving the emphasis in a paragraph. The use of first-person pronouns are always confusing and even problematic in some contexts. In fact, avoiding the first-person pronouns I and we may cause confusion in scientific writing. Take a look at these sentences. In the first sentence, who showed the relationship between the temperature and ECM synthesis? Without we, it's not clear. In the second sentence, when was the relationship between the temperature and ECM synthesis shown? We or I would at least limit the time to the life of the author. In the third sentence, the readers may wonder who the authors are. They could be the authors of this paper, or they could be the authors of a paper previously cited. The consistent use of I or we eliminates unnecessary confusion. Here's another confusing grammar point in scientific writing. It's tense. We can categorize the use of tense for different purposes. Have a look at these examples. The first set of examples are in present tense for delivering knowledge establishment. For example, we want to establish the knowledge about the earth. The earth is round. The second set of examples are in past tense, in the description of methods and results sections. The third example is in present tense, presenting the results in figures or other graphical representations. Finally, the last example is in past tense, which delivers the attribution of a previous study. In scientific writing, we also need to use tense and aspect purposefully and logically. Take a look at these examples in here. The first set of examples use have used and had used structures. Have used structure is there to deliver the status of the procedure, which is still in use. On the other hand, had used structure is there to deliver the idea that the procedure is no longer in use. In the second example, there's a future tense. The future tense is used to point out the further experimentation in the research topic. In the last example, we have the comparison of past tense and present perfect. In scientific writing, it is advised to use past tense because it's more simple and clearer.